I'm here with Blake Simon, Assistant Director of Athletics for Compliance. Blake, where did you come from before and what was your title?
Before I was here at University of Vermont, I was at Florida International University as the Assistant Director for Athletics Compliance. And before that, I was the Compliance Coordinator at Tulane University in New Orleans.
Great. And what are your job responsibilities here at the university?
So the main responsibilities of an individual working in athletics compliance, it's really three parts. There's education, monitoring, and enforcement. So in terms of education, it's our job to meet with the coaches, with the staff, with the student athletes, and talk about all the rules that apply to them in regards to the NCAA and conference and state of Vermont rules and regulations. In regards to enforcement, it's about if we think that there's an issue or if there's a question, it's about us following up, asking questions, submitting waivers, submitting violations. And in terms of monitoring, I check in with the coaches, with the student athletes on how much they're practicing. We deal with questions on a daily basis from all the coaches and the student athletes. We deal with financial aid, we deal with continuing eligibility, the kind of grades they have to get in the classroom. So we work with Kathy Rayhill, who you'll probably see a video of as well. So it's pretty much anything in terms of the rules with the NCAA, with the conference, with the state, even with the team, the school. It's our job to enforce those rules and make sure people are educated on those rules.
Great. And my next question, I can think of a lot of challenges that you're probably faced with, but what would you say is the most challenging in your position?
Sure. So I'd say probably the most challenging aspect of my position would be that every day you're dealing with a million different constituents and they all have different interests and want different things, and to each of them what they want is the most important thing in the world for you to do immediately. So it's really just a matter of balancing your work and balancing expectations, and then kind of doing a good job of figuring out how long each thing will take, how important each thing actually is, and then being able to prioritize really well. Another difficult aspect of the job is that the NCAA and its rules are constantly changing, so you have to keep up all the time with all these changes and then pass on all those changes to all your constituencies on campus.
What would you say is your most rewarding and memorable professional moment?
I'd say my most rewarding professional moment would be the time at my last job, my coworkers and I submitted a waiver to the NCAA in order to petition for an individual to get an additional year of eligibility, which was approved by the NCAA. So he got an additional year in which he could play out his last year of college eligibility. And at the same time, he wasn't going to graduate unless he came back to school. So by this getting approved, he was able to come back to school and graduate with his degree, which he probably wouldn't have done otherwise. So that was very professional, rewarding for my coworkers and myself on that day.
That's pretty great. And my last question for you, what would be some advice that you'd give to a student who's interested in your profession?
My best piece of advice would be try to get an internship as soon as possible. Once you do get an internship, really bust your butt out there, do all the grunt work. The first week that I had my first internship, all I did was shred papers, but I shredded those papers better than anyone possibly could. And just really go in there, impress the people that you're working with, come in early, stay late, be proactive, constantly ask to do more, ask questions and stuff to express an interest, because the people that you work with there are going to be the people that will recommend you for future jobs. So it's really all about building relationships with the people there. Then once you are in this industry, just work really hard to stay educated and build trust, because in the world of compliance, it's all about building trust with the people that you work with. If the people that you work with don't trust you, they're not going to come to you with questions. It's just not going to reflect well on the department and you in particular as a whole.
Awesome. That's great advice, Blake. Thank you so much for taking the time.
My pleasure.